My name is Yousef Fouda. I'm Group Vice Principal for Technology at Warwickshire College Group, and I'm also the Director of Rugby College. And it's great being part of this hangout to talk about technology and the tools and amazing tools that are out there that are free. Today I want to talk about one tool that has been making waves for the last year, and it's called Google Classroom. So many teachers have been using Google Classroom by now, but today and Google Classroom is a great tool. It's doing some fantastic stuff. But I want to talk about a specific feature about Google Classroom that I think is superior to any tool that is out there, and that's when it comes to assessment. You would remember when I was a student back in the 90s, many teachers used to kind of give us out assignments, and we will work on them, and then we will go to an office to hand that assignment. And an administrator will sign the assignment to say they've received it, give it to the teacher, and then the teacher takes about 2 or 3 weeks marking it, bring it back to the office, and then we go collect it from there. And if you think about it, in the last 10, 15 years, we took that process, that paper process, and we've moved it online. And the VLEs currently what they do is, you as a student upload an assignment, the teacher downloads your assignment, marks it, uploads it, and you download it to get the feedback. And the time it takes to do this is probably very much similar to the time when I was a student in the 90s when we had an office to go and hand in that assignment. And now, with the VLEs over the last 15 years, nothing has changed. Just took the process and moved it online. Now, Classroom came and changed this. Now as a teacher, because if you think about it, in the old process, and even with current VLEs, from the time the student gets the assignment to the time you get it back, the teacher and the student are not communicating at all unless they meet in the classroom or in the corridor or the students go knock on their door. But there's no real communication collaboration between the teacher and the student. What Classroom does, it allows the teacher to almost have a live view of their students' progress. So once the teacher issues the assignment to 10, 20, 30, 100 students, the teachers almost kind of have a live view of their progress. It's almost like, you know, having a remote control and watching these news channels and flipping between them to see kind of real news. It's exactly what Classroom allows you to do. You as a teacher can actually have this live view of their progress. You can see the students working on their assignment. You can see their cursor when they're typing and their assignments, whether it's 3 o'clock in the morning or 7 or 12 o'clock in the afternoon, it doesn't matter. You are, as a teacher, are in complete control and viewing the students' progress. You can get in and get involved at any point and assist your students, give them some feedback, give them a comment. Many teachers spend hours and hours and hours marking and remarking, but now, and the reason we do this is because we do not know there's a problem until after the deadline. Why do we have to wait for deadlines? In fact, Google Classroom allows you, and that assessment feature, no longer, you will have to wait for the deadline. You can actually be able to be there and assist your students whenever they need it while they're working on their assignment. And how I see this helping the students, first, it improves that communication between the teacher and the student. And second, the teachers, from a teacher's perspective, reducing the time they have to mark and remark, because every time you remark, you have to give feedback. And whether you give feedback as one-to-one or to the whole group, it's taking time, a valuable time from teachers, providing feedback or explaining things again when they don't have to, if they were actually there before it was too late.
Real time, isn't it? Changing the model of education from batch processing to real time, intervention, communication, it's a new model. A lot of people talk about, how can technology change education, rather than just, continue the same. And you mentioned about, maybe the first generations of VLEs operate in the same way, in the same kind of time period, same kind of analog, if you like, of write an essay, give it to the teacher, hand it back, all the rest of it. With Classroom there, yeah, you can move from batch processing, can't you, to real-time operation. That could be one of the biggest impacts to education. You know, I'm not a great fan of techno-determinism, you know, where technology can drive the changes. It's usually some kind of dynamic, but it just the potential is there at least for people if they want it, you know. And I know quite a lot of teachers do, as you described there, you know, they work online with their students, you know, I wouldn't say 24/7, you know, but you know, out of hours and everything else, and I remember doing it with a project years ago. It's a MoleNet project, you know, mobile learning with Twitter, and it was a Saturday, and one of the Foundation Learning, Joanne Mitchell, one of her students was doing a project, I think it was on Matahara or something, and she tweeted me and said, "What do you know about Matahara?" And so I gave her some links and things, you know, Saturday evening over Twitter, you know, very different, you know, to leaving the students completely on their own, you know.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, there's so many advantages there. I mean, when you think about it, technology will not make the student, will not do the work for the student. What technology will do will improve that communication between the teacher and the student. So enable them to talk and collaborate much more effectively and efficiently than the past. That's one. The second thing is keeping an eye on the progress on the actual work is an amazing feature, because if you compare current VLEs, a lot of them provide reports and data that tells you when students logged in, how long they stayed on the VLE, and etc. But this data is almost useless because it doesn't tell you anything about what the students are doing when they are on the VLE. And a lot of managers in further education focus on this and focus on this data. And whenever I come across someone like this, my advice to them, this data doesn't mean anything. So if I'm your student and you know that I've logged in at 12 o'clock at night and stayed working on it for 4 hours, it doesn't tell you I've been working on it 4 hours. All it says, I was on it for 4 hours from 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the morning. But at that time, I could have opened it and turned around and played on my Xbox for 4 hours. It doesn't say anything about the learning. And this is what we want to change. We want teachers to focus less on data and work and collaborate with the students. This is where the value comes in. This is where the added value is. And not by knowing how many hours the student was on the VLE, because this doesn't mean anything anymore. And talking about mobile, again, a lot of VLEs, they say how amazing they are on mobile devices. My challenge is whenever any VLE company talks to me and say, okay, give me an assignment, and I want to be able to do the assignment, my whole assignment, on my mobile. And if the answer is, no, I would need my desktop or a laptop, then you're not mobile friendly. And Classroom allows you to do this. You can do your whole assignment on your phone if you wish to. I mean, would anyone want to do their full assignment on their phone? Maybe not. But I want to be able to have the option so that if I'm working on my assignment and I'm sitting on a bus and I want to work on it on my phone, I can do that and not have to wait until I have to go back and sit on a laptop or a desktop. Because again, this doesn't mean things have changed over the last 15 years if you still have to depend on a desktop.
Presenteeism, Emily's measuring attendance, just like the old model. You know, that's one of the big data KPIs, isn't it, of attendance. What you're saying there also about, you know, working on the bus, you know, opportunities to, you know, expand outside of the classroom. And what's happening is, a lot of these things, they want to bring the attendance model into the mobile. You know, so yeah, we're on the bus, but you know, I'm still attending. You know, rather than by outcomes, learning. You know, focus on the learning rather than just, you know, the presenteeism of stuff.
Absolutely, Martin. I mean, at the end of the day, Martin, any teacher wants their students to achieve. Knowing that they were on the learning channel or the VLE for 2 hours is not going to help. What you're actually doing is we're getting a lot of teachers to go and look on data and wasting actually valuable time instead of getting them to help. And I see so many teachers over the last many years going home with lots and lots and lots of assignments to mark at home because they don't have the time. And the reason they don't have the time, because their time is occupied by marking and remarking and remarking and remarking. And it happens. I mean, some teachers have to mark a piece of work 3, 4 times, if not more. And technology has not helped over the last 15, 20 years. Actually, technology made life complicated for teachers. And this is why teachers no longer like technology. Teachers sometimes are so afraid of it because they feel whenever they get called to a meeting to be shown a new tool, it's always the same old thing, and it's always tools that will make their job more complicated. And I find my job very difficult trying to show people new tools because they're so convinced that new technology does not help, it just complicates things further. And this is what we have to work with staff on. And if we ever bring any tools to our colleges or schools, they've got to be tools that will bring real change and not just add extra pressure on teachers. I don't think they need it, and I don't think they have time for it.
You remind me of a quote I put out yesterday. I can't remember exactly how it goes, but it went something like, knowledge is adding new things, wisdom is subtracting something. I'm so old, I've been around for quite a long time. Back in the 70s, and one of the what I might call the first or second phase probably of computing with personal computers and local area networks and mainframes, it often got a productivity benefit through automating, computerizing existing systems. And we're still doing that now, you know, but we're not getting the productivity gain because what we're doing is often now trying to replace existing computerized systems with new computerized systems, just as you're saying, and often adding new features and stuff, you know, to make it look attractive and reasons to change. But the real benefit is the hard one come now is transformational change, you know, not just automating, computerizing something that already exists, often already on a computer, but transforming the way we operate. And what you're describing there, you know, being able to interact with students, you know, in real time rather than in batch time, you know, any place, anywhere, students to cross-collaborate, peer assess and things like that. There's potential there, but we'll have to see whether the system will assimilate it or accommodate it. You know, assimilation will change the technology to reinforce what we do already, whereas accommodation is we'll change what we do given the technology is there. It's probably a combination of both, but so as a Piaget learning theory, assimilation and accommodation, you know, I find that, you know, quite relevant to organisations as well. You know, they're especially education so often wants to assimilate new technology. It's a bit like the Borg. I don't know if you watch Star Trek, and the Borg, this kind of symbiotic, cybernetic kind of race that assimilate everything in its path. You know, resistance is futile, you know, and we'll assimilate you into our collective. Whereas, yeah, I look more for accommodation, where the system will change according to what it finds.
I'll just say is I think we can no longer avoid new technologies. I think now we're in an era where the tools that are coming are more personalized, are more effective, and are much more superior than tools that would have had in the past. There's plenty of tools out there. Not all of them are effective, and my advice will be for anyone who wants to use technology to pick the right tool. Sometimes we always think of technology as one tool that will solve all our problems, and it's no longer the case. You can no longer depend on just an iPad or your laptop or your phone. You need a mix of hardware devices. You need a mix of software tools the same way. You can't just depend on PowerPoint, and this is the use of technology. You can't just depend on Twitter. You can't just depend on social networking, Facebook or whatever it is, or Google+. You have to, it's almost like you're going to do a job like a plumber or a carpenter. A carpenter doesn't just have a hammer. He's got a set of tools, and he will get the right tool out to do the job. And we as teachers have to start learning that. We used to just have a whiteboard, and this was our only tool. Now we have thousands of tools that are available to us. Sometimes picking the right tool can be time-consuming, and people can sometimes feel frustrated when a specific tool is pushed on them and they're forced to use it. But now anything is accessible. You no longer need IT services to give you tools. like it was in the old days 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Now you can have on your laptop, you can install whatever you want, you can download any tool, and within seconds you're up and running. Technology honestly can reduce time and hassle and make you work more effectively and efficiently. In the past, a lot of practices did not help teachers. I was one of those teachers that was forced to use tools that never helped me. But now you no longer have to wait for someone like me to tell you what to do. The internet is there, websites, hundreds of websites about education that you can go and check, and it can really help you reduce your workload and work more effectively and efficiently with your students, and most importantly, help your students achieve and do really, really well.